Hello future tech leaders, I am Sindhuja. Based on my own experience, I know that learning the right skills can shape our future. What if I say learning was as thrilled as the tech world itself? There we go. A CloudFoundation, that's exactly what you will experience. From day one, you will be immersed in the interactive sessions and expert-led courses that covers most of the widely used technologies in the zone of data science to cloud computing, which brings more light to the life of a techie. I'm so excited to help you and unlock the true potential of a technology. Well, then why to wait? Let's see what it unfolds.
According to that oath, right, there are the four parties involved. Actually, based on the four parties will be having different grant types basically. Different grant types means like the first one is Authorization Code Grant Type, Implicit Grant Type, OPC, Client Credentials, and then the like. I mean, these are the four major grant types. Apart from these four major grant types, there are like dependent grant types also available actually. Dependent means like access. Token validation is one of the grant type that will use to validate the token whether the token is valid or not. And then the refresh token. We also saw that write refresh token means there are two tokens. Are there write one token, that is the access token, which is used to generate as a response in the SARI, which is used to generate as a response for the PingFederate OAuth configuration. Another one is refresh token, that it will be like valid for infinite number of times actually. That means whenever the access token is going to expire, means they can able to call the refresh token. I call to refresh the old token to the new token without asking the user to type the username and password. Actually, now refresh token is fourth one. Then the next one is, that is the, I think you missed one, implicit actually. Not in. I mean that is, it is there actually, but in future they are going to remove it actually. But we will also see that one. We will also see what is the workflow, why it is not secured, why they are going to remove this grant type and all. We will see the reason. Session grants, it's not used. Actually, it will be used in the pink access, but we will see what is that one. And then the last one is that is known as the access token validation, authorization code granted with the PKC method. Authorization code granted with the PKC method. It's extension of the authorization code granted actually. It will be used with the authorization code. We cannot be able to use it independent, right? You need to use it along with the authorization code granted. We will also see what is the difference between those things. These are the granted right. Then what are the components are available in the OAuth actually? The components are the component. The components are the component. The components are the component. The components are available here in this particular OAuth configuration. The first component is OAuth client ID, like a unique ID for the OAuth. What is the unique ID in SAML? That is known as the like ID, right? Similarly, here OAuth client ID actually we will generate. Similarly, like in SAML, we are creating separate connections, right, for each entity ID. You cannot create a duplicate, right? Similarly, here also, we will be generating different client ID. We cannot use the duplicate one actually. That is a client ID. The next one is redirect. You are in SAML. That is a yes, is you are right. Where we are posting the SAML response to some URL, right? That is known as the ACS URL, right? That is known as the ACS URL, right? That means after authentication, the user should be redirected to this particular URL actually. We can also add multiple redirect URL in the OAuth also actually. The third one is authorization endpoint. The third one is authorization endpoint. Authorization endpoint means they will be creating the authorization request to this particular endpoint. Basically, like in simr adp.adp/siml/sysod.simon2, right? Similarly, here https:// ping hostname 9231/. This is a ACE write authorization server. There is a IDP provider that is idp/authorization.auth2 actually. Similarly, there is another one that is Donastic token endpoint actually. The token endpoint should be the same thing. ACE/token.auth2 actually. This is for validating that token or generating the token. This endpoint will be used actually token.auth2 actually. Validating the endpoint, validating the token or creating the token. Also it can be helpful actually. Next one. The next endpoint that is non-stay. Here validating the token by using that endpoint actually token.auth2. There is another endpoint also available to validate the token that is done as T. The same thing, the same. ORL/IDP/userinfo.openID actually. Basically, validating the token means to check what are the attributes. We are passing it in the token actually. That is what we are doing it. You can able to get the attributes in token.auth2 also, or you can also do the same thing in this particular endpoint that is /idp/userinfo.openid. Or you can remove the AS also. Instead of AS, put IDP and then the auth2, that is open ID actually. Userinfo.openid. Now we have seen a new word called OpenID now. What is that OpenID? Here, what is this one, right? The in OAuth, right? We cannot be. We already saw. OAuth is the authorization protocol. Then, who will do the authentication for the OAuth actually? In SAML, it's independent protocol. It can able to do the authentication for a user. But OAuth, it's independent protocol. It should have to require the OpenID, that is the OIDC. That is the OIDC Open ID Connect Management actually. Why this is another protocol? In order to do the authentication for OAuth, we need to use the OpenID Connect. That is the OIDC. OpenID Connect is the top layer too if you take a OAuth as a stack layer. Right? If you take it as a OAuth as a stack means then OpenID is the top layer actually. It will be available at the top of the OAuth. In order to trigger the adapter for the OAuth, right? We will be using the OIDC actually. We will be using the OIDC to trigger the adapter for the OAuth. That means to enable the authentication for the OAuth actually and also to validate the token. If you could see right userinfo.openid, right? This, if you want to use that endpoint to validate the token, then OpenID Connect is mandatory actually. OpenID Connect is mandatory only. But for validating the token. Also, we can able to use the OpenID Connect for authentication and as well as the to validate the token. That means to check the attributes available in the token. Basically, understood actually this. Components other than that certificate is also available. Whatever the certificate, you have used it for the SAML. Right. The same certificate also, you can able to use it basically. Introspection endpoint. Right. There are certain reasons are there. Why? because there are two types of token available in the PingFederate. Actually, one is that is known as T, like a JSON web tokens. Another one is internally managed reference token actually. Introspection endpoint. It's available only for the that is known as T, internally managed reference token. It is not available for the JSON token actually. That's why we are using this access token validation and as well as the OIDC to validate it. Basically, introspection endpoint mostly, if you are using the internal PingFederate token, right, then it will work actually. But the JSON token is the normal there is a general format token actually. That is available in the global, right? That is available in the JSON format. The J token, right? That is a web tokens. That will be available for all the SSO tools, actually not only for the PingFederate. That's why we are using this endpoint actually. Introspection endpoint also. It's the same thing. It's the same kind of a call actually. Only the endpoint will get different. Actually introspect dot or two, right? But other than that, all the whatever you are doing it with the access token validation, it's the same thing actually. Nothing differences. But access token validation, we can able to use it for all the purposes actually. Another call actually. For both of them also, it will work actually. We will see two of the token. We will be using it to validate it in two different ways. Also, we can able to see actually. There are two tokens in the PingFederate. One is internally managed reference token. Another one is there is a PingFederate token basically. In other words, we can also call it as a PingFederate tokens. And then JSON web tokens, that is a JWT token, JT, that is a encrypted format. Both of them are encrypted, only the length of the token will be different actually. The length of the internally managed reference token is 28 actually. 28 characters, and then the JSON web tokens. It will be it will be much more lengthier than the internally managed reference token. Other than that, everything will stay the same actually. You can able to pass all the attributes. You can able to generate the token for Authorization Code Grant Type. The length of the token, internally managed reference token, is 28 characters actually. The J.T, it's much more lengthier than the internally managed reference token. It's not like we need to use a JWT, or it's not like we don't need to use the internally managed reference token. We can able to use anything. That is the application perspective only. You can also check with the application team what is the token type you want actually. Based on that, you can able to use it basically. It's not like we need to use this one or not. It's not like we cannot. We can also take the decision actually. That is application preferences only. We can able to suggest them actually. Both of them are good only. The most preferable one is JSON web token only. That is a good. But we will see both of them. Don't worry. We will see how to take. Both of them are same. No differences, and all in the configuration and all the steps will stay the same. Only difference. The length of the token will be different actually. Now again the type of token we have seen. The OIDC2 we have seen. The components we have seen. Right. Here. Oh, one more component. I have missed it actually. That is known as the client secret actually. The client secret is nothing but that is known as the to announce the security, right? We will be passing the client secret, one kind of a password. We will be sending it in the each API call actually. This client secret will work only for the authorization code grant type or OPC grant type and then the client credentials. For implicit, it won't work actually. We can also use the client secret. That is also not a problem. Whenever it is there, we should have to use this client secret actually. For example, in authorization request, now we can able to understand, right, what are the components will be there in the authorization request. In SAMOD request, it will be SP entity ID SS URL and then the IDP endpoint URL and all will be there, right? Similarly, in authorization dot, what to that authorization request, right? It will have the different values actually. Client ID should be there. Client secret should be there. And what are the grant type you are using it, right? That is also should be there. The redirect URL should be there. And then one more component that is done as a scope actually. For example, scope is nothing, but it's a mandatory attribute, mandatory parameter. We will be using it in the word actually. We can able to make this parameter more useful related to the user authorization and also actually, for example, to validate the token, right? We need to pass the scope. For example, we are using the userinfo.openID, right? In order to use that endpoint, we need to use this. Scope is equal to open ID actually, or else that endpoint it won't work. In the authorization.what, ID actually, if that scope is not there, then we cannot use the userinfo.open ID that kind of like a scope. I mean that kind of a endpoint. We cannot use it actually. Similarly, if we want to use this scope is equal to email, means you can able. It will send only the email in the userinfo.openID endpoint actually. Similarly, profile means first time, last time. According to that particular scope, right? It will be passing it actually. It's not like they will be using different scopes actually. There are some mandatory scopes. They will be passing it actually. This is all. We cannot take any decision actually. That is also the application. Will ask, hey, please tick the application by using one kind of scope is equal to profile or scope is equal to email or scope is equal to open ID. Like that, if they are asking it, we can able to create it and we can able to pass it actually. That is why. Because I mean the same access token will be using it for multiple OAuth client. ID actually, it's not like I mean you won't be able to use it. I mean you can able to use a separate access token for each and every client ID, but it is not feasible actually. Why? Because for example, let's say like each client ID we need to create one access token manager, one OIDC policy. Actually, two things. We need to create it as a mandatory. If there are 100 client IDs, there means what will happen actually. I mean we cannot create 100 access token. We can be able to create it, but it's not good, right? It's too much actually, right? 100 access token manager are PingFat tunnel. It won't. It can able to withstand, but it is not good actually. 100 token manager for 100 worth client ID. Even though you have created 100 client, under what token manager for the 100 worth client ID? Also, you have created. But what if it is keep on increasing to 200 or 300 or 400, right? It's like, I mean, we cannot be able to manage it. Actually, have a single token manager for most of the applications actually. If that is a specific requirement, they are asking internally manager for each of the means. In that case, please use the different one, actually. But mostly, please use the same token manager because that is the best use case. If you are increasing the token manager, You will be increasing the load in the PingFederate actually. For example, let's say like I am having nearly 2600 worth client ID actually for the workforce. 2600 worth application means I am not having the 2600 access token manager. Actually, maybe like I think I am having like nearly 8 or 9 actually I think. I cannot create 2600 right. That's all our PingFederate service and all will bust out actually. It's not good. Also you cannot be able to do. You cannot be able to create it also. Actually, daily. You are creating lot of worth client ID right. In that case, if you are doing the access token manager and OADC also, if you are creating it right, it will keep on increasing access. Make sure only one client, one access token manager for one client ID. Multiple client IDs and then use the same OIC for the multiple applications also. It's better to manage it basically. If you are deep on increasing, you will be increasing your PingFederate load only actually. Because this, what is not like SAML actually? It's not. SAML is fine, but what is like too much heavy actually? Because even if you can able to see it right for a single authentication, what to then validation also they need to do. 2 APIs and then refresh token is also there. 3 APIs right. For a single user for a one transaction. 3 PI calls they need to make actually. 3 requests to the PingFederate. Every user 3 requests to PingFederate multiplies into like multiple users right. If you are increasing the number of users, means what will happen actually? Eventually the API call will get increased right. I still remember there is one application for 1 minute. Nearly 1 million requests came to the PingFederate actually. 1 million requests actually in a single minute actually. What will happen in a single minute? 1 million PingFederate API. I call actually right. That's a too much high actually because that is also not good actually. These are kind of a request and alright. They should not use it. And then there are like certain application, they will do the load balance. Right, the load test and all. They will keep on hitting the PingFederate services actually. Even last week, Friday also, I have seen this one actually. They raised one. They said the application URL is not working actually. I have checked it. After authentication, and then it is redirecting to the ASC URL. But the ASC URL is not working for them actually. Internal server errors, the site can't be reached. Is it a issue or like application issue? Because the authentication and SAML response has been generated successfully. Right. If it is properly generated, the SAML response, that's all. There is no issue from our side, actually. The issue on the application side only. They need to check it. When I check the logs, right, the normal audit.logs for the same one entity, ID, within 15 minutes, nearly 7,000 requests came actually. Within 15 minutes actually. 15 minutes, 7,000 requests means it's not good actually. Usually we can able to find out right. Usually for that application, it's not that much high-end application also actually. It's a like small application only. I know that application because we never faced any issue regarding that application. Because the system is stable only. We never faced the use for the application. Because it's like a low performance application only. Nothing much. Users are accessing it. Maybe like 10 to 15 users. But that suddenly, if it got increased up to 700 minutes. We can able to easily find out right. Definitely they are doing something inside their application right. Easily we can able to see. And then I sent a mail actually. Did you? Are you doing any load test for this application and all? And they said, we are doing some load test and all. That's why I said. That is why your application is also loading. It's not loading properly. Please, just restart your mission. And stop your load test means it will work. After they stop the load test, the application itself properly working actually. Whenever the load, they're putting it multiple times right. This will also affect the ping feed rate also, actually. Not only affecting the application, it will also affect the ping feed rate. Make sure you are not asking the application team to do it on the production server. Don't ever ask any application team to do the load test. If they are asking it, ask them to do it on the dev. Non-fraud ping fed rates actually. Don't do it on the production, because definitely it will be an effect on the PingFederate servers actually. If any application, not only one or two applications, any applications, if they are doing the load test right, don't accept it on the PingFederate level on the production actually. Ask them to do it on the non-production in normal text. It's better to do it. So it's better to safeguard ourselves. If your production server is not good means what will happen? Not only one that application is affecting. It will affect the existing applications also, right? It's a huge impact from our side. Just we need to ignore that. That is fine. It's good to say no actually. That's not at all a problem. But we need to say it politely. That's all. That is a difference actually. We have seen the type of tokens. OpenID components. Right. All good till now. Any doubt? All good, right? Regarding the UAuth configurations. Now the next one. That is known as the Authorization Code Grant Type. Actually, we will be seeing each grant type. Authorization Code Grant Type. What is an Authorization Code Grant Type? What is a normal flow right? The ping for right. The user will try to access the application. There is a client. It will read out to the resource server. Then the resource server will make a API call to authorization.worth to write. With the authorization request right, they will be hitting that one right. When the authorization server, that is a ping for receives the request, they will authenticate the user. And then once successful authentication, the ping for will generate the token right and send the token back. It will sign the token by using certificate or adding that reference in the token and send the token back to the resource server right. Then the resource server will make another API call to validate the token. Or they can also validate the token by using the certificate right. This is the normal flow we have seen right. Now the authorization code grant if there is some changes. Because in normal OT flow right, it is going to generate the token directly actually. It is going to generate the token. If it is generating the token directly, that's not a good way of managing the SSO right. That means anyone can able to see that token actually. Right. If anyone can able to see the token, that's not a good way of having the ping for right. Right. Like what configuration actually. Right. We all also. We already know that OAuth is not that much secured like a SAML. And also if you are seeing, if you are sending the token in the redirect URI in the browser itself, it's not a good one, right? Sometimes the vulnerabilities can also. The application will be hit actually. It's not good actually. That's why they have introduced a grant type called Authentication Code Grant Type. It's the same flow, only difference. Instead of generating the token directly, for example, the user. You are the user. You are trying to access the application. The client will read out to the resource server. Then the resource server, based on the information, it will create the authentication request, a PI call, that is the authentication.goauth2, to the authentication server, that is a PingFederate. Then the PingFederate will do the authentication. And after successful authentication, in a normal flow, it is going to generate the token directly. But here, it is not going to generate the token directly. It is going to generate the code actually. It is going to generate the code. That code is also known as the audition code or access code or intermediate code or temporary code actually. That code will be valid for only 60 seconds. And once it is generated, the code, it will send that code back to the client. That is the application. Then the resource server, what it will do? It will do the second call actually, token.worth2. Like PingFederate. Do you send me the code in the first step? Right. I am sending back the code to you. Please verify the code and send me the token actually. The resource server will swap the code with the PingFederate to get the token again actually. They need to do within that 60 seconds actually. If it is passing the 60 seconds, then that code will get expired actually. They cannot do anything on that actually. Whenever the authentication is done, the PingFederate will generate the token. So, will generate the code, audition code or access code or temporary code, which will be valid for 60 seconds, and send the code back to the client. Then the client, the resource server, what it would do, it will exchange or it will swap the code to get the token. PingFederate, I am having the code which you generated in the first step. I am passing it in this AP call. Can you check it and send me the token actually? Then they will check the code which is valid or not, and then if it is valid, they will send the token. The second call, right? It's in the back end actually. The authorization.worth, that's in the front end, because the user have to type the username and password. That's a get method actually. Once the authentication is done, the code is generated. They need to pass the code to get the token. Right. The second call will be in the back end. That is the post method actually. And that is the post method. The second call will be in the back end. That's why it's a secured call actually. Even though the code is exposed over the network, exposed over the browser, right? The second call will be secured. Because of that, we can also use the client secret also. The second call will be token.worth2. First call will be authorization.worth2. The endpoint of first call, that is the authorization.worth2. Input is username and password. Output is authorization code actually. The second call, input is code, output is access token. Then what will be the third step actually? The access token will be validated, right? By using the certificate. By using the access token validation. By using the userinfo.openid, API call actually. That's the third step. A validation call actually. We need to validate the token. Using the API call also, we can able to validate, or by using the certificate also, we can able to validate. It's a 3-step process. Normal flow. That's a 2-step process actually, because it is directly generated token. Only one difference here. What is that? It is not going to generate a token directly. It will generate a code actually. We can able to combine all these three, right? All these two, and generate a token, right? We in a single request also, we can able to do, or we can also separate it also. We will see that. It's a 3-step process actually. It is not going to generate the token directly. We will be generating the code. After successful authentication, that code will be valid for 60 seconds. We can also change the code timing, but that is not good actually. But there is an option available actually. The default time is 60 seconds. There is an option to change it, but we should not change it actually. Let it be there. 60 seconds. It's a perfect timing actually. The client, the second call, they need to exchange the code to get the token actually, but within 60 seconds, they need to do that. But if it is exceeding the 60 seconds, that's all. The code will get expired. Then the PingFederate, it won't generate the token actually. In a normal author flow, it is generating the token directly, and anyone can able to hack the token. In order to overcome that, instead of generating the token, they are generating the code first, then swap the code to get the token actually. The first call is the get method. Second call is the post method actually. Then the third one is the validation of the token. Basically, to check the attributes and all. They can also validate the token by using the set page. Here it's a 3-step process. And if you are including the refresh token, then it's a 4th step actually. Here client secret, we can able to use it actually. Redirect, you are a mandatory scope. We can also use it. Grant type is authorization underscore code actually. Client, any client secret grant underscore type. Refresh token also. We can able to enable it. And also we can able to access the access token validation. Also we can able to enable it. Redirect URI and scope. These are the 5 components. We will be using it. Client, any client secret, grant underscore type. And then this scope. And then the redirect underscore URI. These 5 components. It's mandatory actually. We will be using it. And also, like in the second call write, in the token.worth to call write, the second endpoint, they will be passing the client any client secret, grant type scope, and redirect to a write. Along with that, they will be passing the code actually, which is output of the first step actually. This, the same thing, which is also available in the first step also. The same thing, which is also available in the second step also. Authorization.worth to also. In that endpoint also. This will be acting as a query parameters. The same thing which is also available in the token.worth to. The first 8 I call. Output code will get generated. Second A I call is input is client any client secret, grant type, scope and redirect to A. Along with that, they will also send the code in the second call actually. Theistic token. Input is this one. Output is token. Then the third one is validation of the token. To validate the token actually, the first step is input is authorization request, username and password. Then the output is code actually. Then the second step. Input is code which is generated in the first step. Output is token actually. Third step, validation, is whatever the token which is generated in the second step is took, the attributes and token is valid or not. Actually, whatever the output of the existing step, it is acting as the input in the second. Next step actually, that's a difference. Understood, guys? Or this is known as the audition code granted. The advantages. It's like it's the most secured way of doing the OAuth actually, and most widely used one actually. Most widely used one, most secured one. Trusted grant type. Because of the code, right? That is valid for only 60 seconds, right? That's why. Get method and post method. It is not that much secure like a SAML one, but it's like somewhat good one actually. For configuring the single sign-on for the single page application, right? We will be using. It's good to have the automation code granted. What is the advantages? Why there is another grant type called implicit? Why it's not using nowadays actually? What is the reason? Because there is little bit small disadvantage available in the audition code granted. We are using the client secret, right? Certain browsers. It is not going to store the client secret as a secured one. Actually, this client secret might be exposed because the second call, they need to do it in the back end, right? They need to store the client secret in the back end browser. Actually, because they need to do the second call. Might be, even though if it is 60 seconds, might be the client secret and code also will get hacked actually. Might be the code and client secret also might be get hacked. Within that 60 seconds, they can able to try to call the second call and get the token actually. But this is not that much easy actually. It is little bit disadvantage. But disadvantage is only for the single page application using the JavaScript actually. Single page application which is using the JavaScript, normal single page application. It can able to easily go with the audition code granted. There is nothing wrong in that. But single page application which is using the JavaScript, right? Because of the client secret used in the second call, right? That makes little bit not secured. For the authorization code granted actually, single page application with the JavaScript, because the JavaScript is acting as the weakest link actually. That's why they introduced another protocol called implicit actually. Another grant type called implicit. But what happened? They introduced the implicit and lot of applications or organizations started using that. But later they realized this is like less secure than the audition code granted actually. Because there is an issue that client secret was facing. That's why audition code granted we are using. We are changing into the implicit. But what implicit they did, right? They removed the client secret actually totally. They totally removed the client secret. And they totally remove. What is the next disadvantage in the audition code? That is the code exchange, right? That is the access code or temporary code. Creation of that temporary code. They also removed that one also actually. They removed the client secret and they removed the code and then they have introduced. This is as a replacement with authorization code granted actually for the single page application which is using the JavaScript, that they removed the authorization code actually, that is the access code. They removed the client secret actually. These are the two things which is acting as a little bit. These are the two things that makes the authentication code granted secured also. What they did in implicit, they removed it actually because that code or client secret, right? It is not working with the JavaScript actually properly. They totally removed it actually. and then introduced the grant type called implicit. But what happened after successful authentication? That is authorization.verf2. It is generating the token directly actually. It is generating the token directly. The second call will be to validate the token by using the certificate or validation epic or user info.id actually. It is a normal flow actually. Whatever we have seen in the normal workflow, right? The same flow. It is going to generate a token directly in the browser itself actually. After successful authentication, anyone can able to see what is there in the browser. Anyone can able to see the token value. It is like not that much secured actually. That is why this implicit has been consumed for a lot of applications. Like nowadays only. We realized actually we should not use the implicit to one. There is a new version. It is going to come for the Auth 2.0 protocol. It is going to come in that one. They are going to remove this implicit actually because this is not a secured one. Then you can ask me, what is the replacement for the authorization code granted? That is little bit not secured one, right? Single page application which is using the JavaScript. The replacement is that is also they have already given it. That is known as the authorization code granted with the PAC method. That is the PKC method. This is the replacement for the implicit actually for the application which is using the JavaScript. What is that? What is that? Disadvantage we are facing in the authorization code. That is the client secret, right? There is a most important disadvantage, right? Usage of the client secret. What they did, they removed the client secret in the authorization code granted with the KC. They also keeping the secret. We can also use it without the secret, or we can also use it with the secret also. Both of them also, we can able to use it. That means we can remove the client secret or we can also use it with the client secret. Then you can ask me, if you are using the client, if you are not using the client secret, then what is why there is the authorization code granted with the PKCE method, then why we will be, what is the secured one? There is another component. We are going to use it. That is known as the code challenge. Actually, code challenge. And then the code verifier. This one, it is also acting as a client secret. But client secret means it is a password, right? It is a dynamic client secret. Dynamic means it will get changed. Actually, it will get changed. It will get changed. For each and every request, it should be different. Actually, for example, different code challenge will be there and then going to try. It means there will be another Cody_challenge. And more importantly, that code challenge, they can able to, what we can say, they can able to encrypt it and pass it. Actually, encryption also, they can able to, in short form, authentication code granted with the PKC method, we can also use it with the secret. Without the secret, if you are using without the secret, with the secret or without the secret, both of them, code challenge and code verify, should be there. The code challenge will be there in the authorization.worth to request. Code verified will be there in the second call, token.worth to call. But both of them should stay the same Actually, whatever you are passing in the code challenge, in the first call, you need to pass the same thing as the code verifier in the second call. Actually, the code challenge or code fair, we are calling this as a NAME, client secret. Actually, because for each and every request, it will get changed. Actually, it's not the same one. The client security is a static one, right? If you put test 3 as a client, it will stay the same for all the users. Actually, but here in authorization code granted with the PKC method, it is not going to be the same. It will be dynamic. Actually, code challenge B. If you are passing code challenge the same value, we will be passing it in the code verify. Both of them will be the different for each and every request. Actually, that is authentication code grant with the PKC method. In short form, we are using, instead of using the static client secret, we are going to use the dynamic client secret. Maybe in future, they may remove the total client secret. But as of now, the client secret, you can able to use it. Actually, that is not at all. It's actually, you can also use it with client secret or without the client secret. It will work. But anyways, if you are using the client secret, even though if they hack the client secret, they cannot be able to hack the code challenge, or that will still be more secured. Actually, this is the authorization code granted T secure way of doing the auth. As now they increase the security, they enhancing the security. I mean, till now this is not that much like it's like whatever the security is already there, it is more. Actually, the authorization code grant with the PKC, it's already like they already gave it self because they are going through the implicit to I mean, suppose to release LE self. Actually, it's been actually there is they did right date let existing self because there are like organization which the implicit changing the implicit to the audition grant method. Like there are like lot applications there, right? That's it. Change actually probe recommends, right? Little confusing, little x actually that's getting actually changing implicit authentication granted method implicit star it's a authentication grant though agreeing approve actually authentication granted they actually internally face like mentioned right application. Expose the feeling sick. Authorization. Authorization grant understood. 3. Concept grant there. Of action grant with authentication. Actually, these 3 grant which then as client credentials methodology. See tomorrow. Actually, reads passive credential secure. Actually, client credentials the different whatever t right because these interconnected right. WoW authorization request right everything staying second granted whatever right that's totally different whatever work everything changing actually because their authentication actually. And finally, do not forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel.